Hello and welcome to this episode of the Star Wars Universe Podcast. Friends, it's late August. I'm recording this, and then tomorrow I'm getting on a plane for a summer vacation. Will has been talking about various summer vacations they're taking. All sorts of people going on summer vacation, and even our friends in the Star Wars universe are going on summer vacation. A few days ago, you may have heard Paul and I talking about what is or isn't canon. We didn't get into one of the hardest questions, although I think the answer is clear, that Star Wars Lego is certainly Lego canon. I think it's Star Wars canon in at least a couple of ridiculous ways that we're going to talk about. But if you haven't seen the Lego Summer Adventure, hit pause, go watch it. It's a lot of fun. But even if you don't want to watch it, we're not going to have like huge spoilers because there's not really much to spoil. We're just going to have a lot of fun talking about it. All that and more with myself and Will Freeland right after this commercial break. We have no control over. But if it's not for summer ads, like summer beach vacations or something, then the algorithm is really not doing well.
How dare
At least advertise like goggles or swimsuits. Welcome back. I'm Matthew Fox, your host, they, them pronouns.
And I'm Will Freeland.
Will, it's so good to have you on. You've been on a bunch to talk about some Marvel TV shows, about Marvel comics. You do all your own stuff about Legos and Star Wars and stuff like that. And so when I saw there was a Lego Star Wars adventure, I knew you were the right one to get on. Just say for a minute, like to start out, like I know you're a big Star Wars fan. Where did the Lego thing come from?
The Lego thing was actually how I got more into Star Wars, I think. I watched the movies and it was fine. But then all the Lego vehicles that they've come out with over the last 25, 30 years. My aunt and uncle had some of the first like UCS sets before UCS was like a phrase. Like the original like UCS, X-Wing and stuff. Know that phrase? Oh, sorry. Ultimate Collector Series. Okay. Basically, if there's a set and it has a little like sign, a sticker sign in front of it, it's probably a UCS set. It's only been for the Star Wars sets, but 30 years ago when they had the big Death Star and the big X-Wing and R2-D2, they didn't have signs, but my aunt and uncle had them, and I was like, I need this. This is the greatest thing I've ever seen. And so, yeah, Lego helped me get more connected, I think, to Star Wars. And then I watched all the shows and all the movies and all that stuff.
As I say this, we're not doing this over video, but Will has a very large Millennium Falcon Lego in the background. Will's turning his camera so that I can see it. None of the rest of you can, but it's still awesome to see. And I know Will does a podcast, a Twitch stream specifically on Legos and Star Wars, which we'll get into later. So Star Wars is the thing, is the entertainment stuff, and then Lego is these pieces you build. Where did all of this like Lego TV and movies and like for me, I really started getting into it through the video games. Like it started with, I think, really with the Lego Harry Potter games, which were, all the normal comments about J.K. Rowling and not giving her any money anymore. Please do not. But, I started those games and I really enjoyed the kind of like little bit of humorous take on the story as you played it out. And I feel like with Lego Star Wars, especially, like there are now so many Lego Star Wars games, all of which have a lot of fun, kind of like breaking the fourth wall and making fun of the thing as well as honoring it. What's been your experience with kind of watching all of this Lego movies and TV shows and video games and all that?
Initially, I'll say it was weird because my first Lego game, I believe, was the first Lego game at all. It was the Lego Star Wars. Where they didn't have voice acting. It was all just grunts for all the cutscenes. It was hilarious, and like it was completely based on like sight gags, kind of like Groucho Marx way back in the day, kind of just silly gags. They do an iconic scene, but then add a little funny twist or cameo to it, and it was a lot of fun. And then I played the first few Lego games, and then I stopped, and then I came back, and then they had voice acting, and I was like, what is happening here? Totally threw me off. And then they started doing these shorts and movies and shows, and now I get it, and it's a lot of fun. And I'm here for it. The there's the the last Lego game that came out was like all 9 Star Wars movies, like the Skywalker saga. And it's just impressive to me that they have the same size video game cartridges and discs, but they have like 9 times the amount of game as they used to.
It's pretty impressive. My partner Mary and I have spent a lot of time playing through that game, and I think we've only finished 4 of the 9 movies. Yeah. So it's a lot.
So much fun.
I think I'm kind of similar journey as yours, and like the first time I really saw any of this Lego animated stuff was the Lego Movie, which probably a lot of people have seen, which I just thought was groundbreaking. Like I thought it was so inventive. It had so much social commentary wrapped up in it, as well as just being this beautiful way of making you think about Legos. And then I saw Lego Batman. And Lego Batman to me was what really kind of changed the bar of like, okay, so these are now like actual like versions of these stories, but with all the kind of winking at the audience, fourth wall break, great stuff. Mm-hmm. And it's in that realm that I've seen the holiday special, which we did an episode on. We have done an episode on the original holiday special because we're masochists. We also did an episode, although I like it more than some people. Like that bar is very, very low, but we did the Star Wars Lego holiday special, which was amazing. And then that brings us to the Lego summer vacation. So let's kind of dive into that because that's what officially our topic is.
Yeah.
What was your take on this, little summer romp?
I didn't know what to expect at first, and I thought it was going to be one thing, and it very much wasn't. I loved the cameos. I thought it was, I guess it's for the inclusion, but I thought it was odd that they pulled like Rose, for one of the characters to be like, who, I guess it's obvious when it's Finn who wants to hang out with everyone, considering the movies, but I was like, okay, this is a random choice and nobody wants to hang out, and so I was thinking this was going to be something along the lines of like a Hotel Transylvania or something. Of just random antics throughout this summer resort. But it was very much not.
For those who haven't seen it, the basic structure of the movie is, everyone is going off to do their next phase of Imperial, of New Republic stuff. Basically, it's all taking place after the last movie. And Finn gets separated from people. Each one of the people has their own thing. Poe is me. Poe wants to be like, okay, folks, we have to be here at 10 a.m. and here at 10:40 and eat breakfast. And I'm just like, yeah, I do that. But winds up everyone gets splitting up, and then Finn winds up speaking to a couple different people who each give him kind of like, who each tell him a story, and so we get these vignettes, and that's a way they kind of give us characters. So like,
and that was a lot of fun.
It really was, yeah. So like, Force Ghost Obi-Wan tells him a story, and I'm trying to think what were the other ones.
Force Ghost Anakin, and then Force Ghost Leia.
Oh yeah, that's right. So it's all 3 of those Force Ghosts, and they're all kind of just fun little stories. And to me, what all that gets to is what I think. Like, I make the joke about canon. I don't think there's a lot of stuff that's clearly just like tweaking things. It's not trying to be official canon. Mm-hmm. But I do think they did something very interesting, which is they in the very beginning, all these Force Ghosts are talking to Finn, and he says at one point, "I thought you only talked to Jedi." And Obi-Wan says, "No, you are explicitly, you are a Force user. You would have been a Jedi, etc., etc." And
you could have been a contender.
Yeah, exactly. To me, as someone who, I think I've talked about this, was really frustrated that like they kind of leaned into Finn having these Force powers, but then never really confirmed it.
Yeah,
that really meant a lot. What do you think of all that?
Yeah, I'm totally with you. I feel like if JJ had all 3 movies, he would have touched on Finn being Force sensitive in episode 8, and then in 9 they could have explored it more. But given this is what happened, this is what is officially canon, fine. I think it's pretty obvious that he's Force sensitive, I think. But like, I don't know, it was so on the nose through the movies that you can't really, it's not, I feel like it's not an argument. It's not a conversation. Yeah. He is absolutely force sensitive, and he just, being the kind of person that he is, never got a chance to explicitly tell Rey that's what's going on with him. Okay.
Yeah. I definitely have some frustrations about the like 2 different directors, 5 different visions. I'm more on the Ryan side in general, but I agree with you that like either way, I think more consistency would have done it. And yeah, I agree. I don't think there is much of an argument against it. It's just that it's kind of like when that thing that's basically teased throughout a story, and you know it's there, but for whatever reason, the authors aren't just crossing that line.
Right.
And this made it official. You know, this crossed the line, and I'm sure someone's going to come in and be like, no, it's not official canons. This doesn't mean that. And I think you said it perfectly. It is already explicit. It's not that we're like creating some new idea.
Right.
It's just that we're like putting the stamp on the thing that we all saw.
Yeah. I see this as like a canon fanfic.
Yeah, I think it's a good way to put it. Like,
I imagine Finn just kind of like fever dreaming this entire movie.
Uh-huh. I think that's fair.
And if that's how I have to think of it to make it canon, then sure, fine. Let's go with it.
Mm-hmm. That works. That totally works. I did definitely enjoy the as you said, we got a lot of cameos. And some folks were, you know, they just didn't get the original actors, and so they have different voice actors. But there's some voice actors who just, and like Kelly Marie Tran was in this. That may be part of why they included Rose. I think Rose is also a character who got kind of short shrifted for unfortunately similar reasons to Finn. So I'm glad to have her back. But Billy D. Williams also has apparently decided he's just going to sit at home and be the voice of Lando now. And that's like, what a good life, you know?
Yeah.
Like, he was just out of nowhere in this, but he was so good, and I loved it.
Yeah. Man, I want to see more of Lando, either young or old. I'm not going to lie.
Right?
I really didn't like... I didn't like his role in Episode 9, but regardless... Billy D. Williams is just such a fun person to see on screen. Mm-hmm. It's fine.
Yeah, I'm not the one to come up with this idea, but the Daniel Glover as the young version of Lando with Billy D. Williams narrating, like the old Indiana Jones TV, like that would be such a good show, and I would be so happy to see that. Just because the two of them together, I think they're both such good versions of Lando.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have a favorite flashback story from the 3?
I think in some way the one that Ben Solo tells. It's Ben Solo telling it because
about Ben, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry, yeah, that's correct. Because it's about when Han and Leia go off on this adventure with when Ben is still their kid. And it's both like really sweet because we know so little about Ben Solo before he becomes Kylo Ren. And so seeing him, I think this is supposed to be just before he goes off to train with Luke to be a Jedi. And there were some good jokes in it, but there was also just because you know what happens to him. Like in some ways I thought that was the darkest of the 3 because it had this whole like, you know what's going to happen. You know, you're seeing him having this loving relationship with Han and Han hugging him and you're like, oh yeah, he's going to kill that guy one day.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. It's my goth emo heritage. You know, I'm always going to look for a bit of the darkness. And I just thought that one was really well done.
Yeah, I liked that one. Man, I talk about Nando V movies way too much, but he has like a rewrite about Episode 9 because I guess there was a dropped scene where Chewie was supposed to be captured by Kylo in the First Order or Last Order or whatever order he has, and he talks about how like Chewie was there for Ben's entire life, and for him to see Ben kill his father, like the amount of emotion that they could have used in a scene like that is just like a missed opportunity. And then so I think of that video and then I see Chewie give Ben this like huge loving uncontrollable hug when they drop him off at the end. I was like, man, It's just
that'd be so good.
That's so hard. It's so hard to see.
Especially because we're going to kind of go off on tangents, but the whole summer vacation thing is all tangents.
It is.
As much as I love Ryan Johnson in episode 8, and that's not what this episode's about, so spare the hate mail. One of the things that I was always very frustrated that got dropped was, when Han Solo dies, him and Ben have this like very emotional kind of connection moment of like, him saying like, I know what I have to do, but I'm not sure I can do it. And Han saying, let me help you, son. And Han's hands are on the lightsaber. And I have always thought that there was a possibility, at least, that Han's the one who pushes the button to activate the lightsaber. Basically, like, because he knows that if his son doesn't kill... Han knows that if his son doesn't kill him, they're both dead anyway, and his son's going to be destroyed. Han also knows that maybe, like, actually him killing his father would be the last step to send him to the dark side fully. And so Han basically helps Ben kill him. This might be complete headcanon. I have no idea, but at least I think the idea that that's a possibility is at least very possible in what we see.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that I wish that had been further explored, but I was very much thinking about that watching Han and Ben hug.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember when those kinds of theories started popping up after episode 7, and I really like that theory. I think it speaks a lot. I think it speaks more to Han's growth from when we first got introduced to him in the original trilogy to being able to coming to episode 7 where he fully believes in the Force. He married someone who is one with the Force, and then he like understands this trip through the Force and understanding the Force that Ben has gone through, that he's willing to go and make that kind of sacrifice. But I think I would prefer
I think
that.
you're right. It's the growth both in terms of the Force understanding and the love, but also just of the sacrifice. Granted, it's always a lot grumpier, and I've often heard, not to again make a J.K. Rowling reference, but I've often heard Han referred to as the grumpiest Hufflepuff of all time. That he is always going to be there for everybody else. He's just going to be grumpy about it.
Yeah.
And, in the first movies, the idea of like basically like completely sacrificing yourself for a larger good is just not on his radar screen. He'll do it, but he'll do it when he feels like he can do it. Like his ego is that like, I'm not going to die doing this. And so him actually dying to help save his son is just so beautiful.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about the other two. So the second one is Force Ghost Anakin talking about his time as Darth Vader, which is like, gosh. Again, I think it's really fun because it's about, first of all, it's Anakin acknowledging all the stuff that he remembers about being Darth Vader, which is kind of just like, oh, okay, that's a fun new direction. But it's about like Vader and the Emperor deciding to go on a beach vacation, and then because they're Sith and they have to win and they have to be competitive, they use the Force to win all of these like shuffleboard and other kind of like old people at the beach contests. And I just loved it. I thought it was like, there wasn't much there, but it was just hilarious.
Yeah, I loved the intro to it, and because Finn's just like, listen, bad guys don't take time off. Like, we need to be ready. Like, as soon as this vacation's over, we're going 24/7. And Anakin's just like, well, bad guys can take time off sometimes. Let me tell you a story. Just whenever there's a bad guy turned good, they always have those awkward scenes of like, oh yeah, I did that.
Right.
They don't have enough of it in Dragon Ball Z of just like acknowledging, oh yeah, I tried to kill the main character, my bad. But just that like that super awkward like arm shuffle kicking the dirt. Yeah. Oh man. I mean, I took a break from killing off entire planets. We went to a beach one time. It was still fun.
Right.
And all the quote drops. That's
so
like
good.
the best part of these shows is when they do all those little like call outs to classic quotes.
Classic lines or movements, or just like like the Emperor's a character that they're constantly making fun of in the Lego stuff about him, and I love it. And to me, the standout line was he's talking about like how he needs to like use his like force electricity power from time to time, and he says, "I just need to get my zappies in. You know, like, I need to get my zappies in every day." And it's just like, I kind of feel on some level, if you to truly love and understand Star Wars, you have to be okay with admitting that it's utterly and complete nonsense. Ridiculous nonsense. And it's wonderful nonsense. And it's nonsense that can teach us so much, but still, it's an old wrinkled guy in a hood shooting lasers lightning out of his fingers because he wants ultimate power. Like, it's just nuts. And I think the Lego does such, like they did with Batman, you know, another of my absolute favorites, but we have to acknowledge there's just some off the wallness about it. I just think Lego does such a good job of capturing that. Like, yeah, we're not, it doesn't ever feel cruel. It doesn't ever feel like a parody.
Right.
It's parody, but it's like, it's a parody made with love, not with like disdain.
Yes. It's loving parody and not like making a complete joke out of something that originally was serious. Yeah.
Like the way you said it as you know, this feels like fan fiction. Yeah, this feels to me like if you got a bunch of people together at a Star Wars con and they all brought their Lego pieces in, like this is what they would do, you know, like out of love, but also just making fun of the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly what it is.
All right, you want to tell us a little about the third story, Obi-Wan?
The third one, but chronologically the first,
right?
Is Obi-Wan trying to not be Obi-Wan, having to sing and distract an entire bar full of bad people, was just really, really funny. Taking place kind of around when the Obi-Wan Kenobi show takes place, it seems like.
I think so, yeah. I think it's a little before that. And I would hum for you a few bars of Gamorrean gals and Gamorrean guys if I didn't think that the mouse would hunt me down.
We would get copyright
down immediately. Yeah, exactly. No, you can't do it at all.
Oh my gosh.
Fear the mouse. But yeah, it was just, again, it's ridiculous, but it's so much fun.
Yeah. And then just having his Padawan Anakin afterwards be like, wait, Obi-Wan had fun? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Excuse me? And then Leia, Obi-Wan had fun?
Yeah. It's so good. So good.
Oh, man.
I will also say, you all heard me talk about how much I now have a much higher respect for Hayden Christensen after the Kenobi show, but my Anakin will always be Matt Latner, the voice actor from the Clone Wars, and that person did the voice of Anakin in this, which I was very happy about. It was not, and I think the voice actor for Obi-Wan is the voice actor from the Clone Wars. I'm not sure about that, but
it sounded like him. I have a lore question that I've never bothered to actually look up.
Sure.
Does Anakin know that Leia was his daughter?
So, yes. Well, Anakin never knows that. But, well, yeah, because, I mean, Vader does learn it, because at the very end of Return of the Jedi, when Vader is fighting Luke, or Luke is trying not to fight Vader, and Vader's trying to goad him,
right?
Vader basically reads his emotions and says, "Sister, you have a twin sister. If you can't be turned, then perhaps she will." And that's when Luke just gives back in and charges. And there's a lot of just debate about what happens with Luke in that moment. It's never said specifically that he knows that Luke's sister is Leia Organa, but she's one of only 3 women in the galaxy, according to his original universe movie. So it's a fair. And I have always had the implication, especially when he says how he treats it as though like, okay, I'll go find her instead.
Right.
That he already knows who she is.
Okay.
As for what Force ghosts know, I assume that all the Force ghosts hang out in the Force ghost land.
Right? They're like, oh shit, look at you.
Yeah.
Sorry,
like,
18 and over. Apologies.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. Okay. I definitely hope, like, I I would love to see some moment of the Force ghosts force ghosting together, maybe sitting on the clouds. But again, don't make it a heaven. That is too much like a heaven. I don't know. But we're basically like Qui-Gon, Obi-Wan, and Anakin are there, and like Anakin's like, so did I do okay? And Obi-Wan's like, well, you had some real problems. And Qui-Gon's like, Obi-Wan, you had one job. You had one job to raise this kid right. So yeah, I am assuming that he knows by then. He definitely in canon. Vader knows that Luke has a sister who is Vader's daughter.
Right.
I would assume that's Leia, but it is never actually confirmed. As far as I know, I have that scene mostly memorized, but Paul, who probably has it actually memorized, I'll double check with him just to be sure.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if it's, I feel like the two of them have never talked as father-daughter.
Right.
Right. So I don't know if he's ever actually put two and two together. Oh, it's just random thoughts.
Right.
Has nothing to do with what we're talking about here.
Yeah. I will say that in the novels that are now part of, like, there's different canons. Again, listen to our earlier episode. The Disney canon is one of those canons. I think it's also fair to say the Legends canon is another canon, but the Disney canon is what we're dealing with now and was kind of official from them. In that, there's a wonderful book called Bloodlines about Princess Leia during the New Republic. I should say, like, really, Counselor Organa or Counselor Solo. I thought she doesn't take Leia's name Solo. She's Counselor Organa at that point, who'll become General Organa as well. Where she is wrestling with the fact that she is the daughter of Vader, and that she had these, like, you know, like Vader was like grabbing her and torturing her and like holding her back when her planet was destroyed. And so she has these really traumatic memories. And like Force Ghost is probably the biggest like plot ex machina like they have in terms of like they do exactly what they need to for the plot, but like you sort of feel like Force Ghost Anakin would have spent a lot of time with Leia being like, my bad. I'm so sorry. How can I make this up? Like, can I take you to a ball game? If you know whatever Dad's gonna do. But yeah, we don't have any of that in canon at all. So I will say Bloodlines is also very good because one of the central ideas of it is, does the galaxy know that Leia was Darth Vader's child and what would happen if they found out and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's a very good book.
That's a big question.
Yeah, it's a good book, and it. As much as I don't like the First Order, here we're going way off on tangent. Part of why I never liked the whole when it comes to the sequel trilogy, what I wanted out of it is summed up from that line in Hamilton, winning. I think the winning is easy, son. Ruling is harder. Like, I wanted to see all the problems that happen when you take over and when there is corruption and when like. Everyone thinks that with the Emperor dead, the second Death Star gone, everything will be good and happy now, but it clearly isn't. I wanted that story. We got very little of that. The book Bloodlines gives you a lot more of sort of what are the political divisions and how does it lead to the First Order and stuff like that.
Interesting. I like it.
Yeah. So that's fun stuff.
Bring it back to...
Yeah, please take me off tangent.
Lego Star Wars Summer Vacation. My favorite part of the Obi-Wan flashback is when they're escaping and Boba gets into Slave One and goes and chases them, and they do the like Kids Bop Lego version of the Boba theme song. That was so much fun. That was like my favorite part of that.
In many ways, I'm going to get thrown out of the Marvel fandom here, but like, I think Star Wars does a better job than Marvel right now of putting in those callbacks that you know, because like once I saw it, I read about it, and one of those pointed it out, and I went back and watched that, and I was like, oh, that's awesome. I didn't realize that at the time. But like, I think Star Wars does such a good job of like planting the Easter eggs in ways that the people who know them will catch them. And I certainly caught a good deal of them. But if you don't, you're not missing anything, you know? Anyway, I really, really appreciate it. And in some ways, this is the perfect place to do it because this isn't like a big in-canon plot, move the plot along thing. Like, nothing that happened in this will be significant to any other story we watch, except as far as like, the next time someone's like, Finn's not a Jedi, you can be like, nope, Lego made it canon.
Well, I don't know. He got visited by 3 different Force ghosts. Technically 4 by the end of it. Different Force ghosts. So clearly he's got something going on.
Yeah, this is no like the Jedi Carol. It's 4 ghosts, not 3.
Yeah. Even though Ben just shows up at the end and he's just like, hi. I don't even think adult Force Ghost Ben has a line when he's like Force Ghosty.
Yeah.
But it's fine.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so I think this is going to be a short episode. There's not too much to say about it. It's definitely fun.
It was
I will
fun.
say I don't think it's as good as... I thought the holiday special was really inventive and did some amazing things. And a lot of this feels like the same of. Like, I still think I'm glad I watched it. I wouldn't put it quite as much as like a must watch as that one or like the Lego Batman movie, but I think it's a lot of fun. If you're the kind of person who just revels in Star Wars-ness, like definitely give this a check out.
If you're big enough of a fan of Star Wars that you've seen everything, then it's worth watching.
Yeah.
If you're just a passing fan or you've only watched the movies, then if you have time and you want to watch something random, watch it. Otherwise, I mean, you're not missing too much. It's just a fun little romp. If you like Robot Chicken, it's worth watching.
Yeah, I think that's a fair way to put it. So let's start wrapping up. So, Will, if people wanted to watch Legos, particularly of a Star Wars, but not entirely of a Star Wars variety, what's another place they could go to watch someone like yourself engaging in that world?
Ooh, come find me on Twitch. It is Silver Dreamer, Silver with a Y. Because I was super edgy in high school that I liked replacing all I's with Y's. But Silver Dreamer on Twitch, I stream building sets on Wednesdays and Fridays. Weekends we go kind of crazy, just do all kind of whatever, or throw a bunch of stuff at the wall, whatever sticks, that's what we go with. Sundays we've been reading comics on stream.
That's awesome.
I have a huge Marvel comic book collection, and so we are reading the stories that lead up to the crossover event Secret Wars, which is what was announced for the end of Phase 6 in the MCU.
Nice.
And we just covered Incursions, which were covered in a recent Marvel movie. So come check it out.
Nice.
Hang out.
Yeah, I'm so glad you specified it, because for a while I didn't recognize Silver as Silver. I just saw the SYL and also the word Dreamer. And since you have a little bit of a fake, ness to you, I just thought it was Sylvan Dreamer. And so I was always having the hardest time finding it. But don't worry, if you're not good at spelling, we will put the link in the show notes. We'll also put the link to Hype is My Superpower, which is the podcast that Will does with his buddy Steve.
Yes, I do.
Both of them have been on this podcast, and both Paul and I have been on their podcast. It's a great way to learn about comics. If you're someone like me who doesn't really read comics much, they do a great job summarizing them and talking about them and just kind of filling you in. And I think if you do read comics, you're going to love hearing all their analysis. So check out Will's Twitch. Check out that podcast. Of course, check out all the other podcasts I do by going to theethicalpanda.com. There you'll find this podcast, the Superhero Ethics Podcast, all sorts of other stuff I do. And of course, most importantly, there you'll find all the ways to contact us. What did you think of this movie? Did you love it? Didn't get around to watching it yet, but now you're curious about it? Let us know what you think. All the ways to find us are there, and so please check that out. Please check out all the great things Will is doing, and most importantly, as fans, be good to each other.
Bye, guys.